Fabricamos talento. Fabricamos innovación. Y, cómo no, sostenibilidad. Fabricamos una nueva economía. Y un mundo nuevo, en 3D, por supuesto. Pero sobre todo, fabricamos futuro. Y es que fabricamos empleo para más de 137.000 trabajadores. Fabricamos oportunidades globales de negocio en un espacio de más de 10 millones de metros cuadrados. Y fabricamos servicios de vanguardia y ventajas competitivas para más de 175 empresas. Consorcio de la Zona Franca. Fabricamos oportunidades para tu futuro.
Welcome to D-Factory, the factory that develops talent, technology, innovation, and of course in the heart of Barcelona. After all, D-Factory is consolidating Barcelona as a European capital of development for Industry 4.0, for digitalization, for transformation, creating 1,500 direct jobs and 5,000 indirect jobs in the city, close to the metro, the harbour and the airport. And promoted by the Consorcio de la Zona Franca de Barcelona.
It's a time of changes. Now is the time to move on. This is the time for solutions. Feel the motion. BNEW is born. BNEW, none of you. No one connected to you. BNEW, none of you. BNEW will do it for you. This is the time for solutions. BNEW is for you.
Welcome back again to Be Talent. Hope you're enjoying all our contents thanks to our BNEW digital platform. We have learned some keys about how to promote talent, attract talent, and to retain, or let's say, seduced talent in this last 3 sessions. When we talk about talent, we mean women and men talent. But we all know about the unbalanced participation of women and men, especially in digital and technological enterprises. Let's have a look to some international cases of entrepreneurship led by women in these 2 areas, digital and technological enterprises. Let me introduce to Tarine Andersen. Welcome, Tarine.
Thank you very much.
She is graduated from EES Business School. I don't know how you say it.
IS.
IS Business School, sorry. She worked in private banking for 13 years. Since 2016, she's Investor Relations Director at Telegraph Hill Capital. Since 2017, she is co-founder and CEO at Impulse for Women, an international non-profit organization which aim is to hire female-led tech and social impact entrepreneurs, investments, and connecting them with investors. Well, that's your introduction, and thank you all of you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the session.
Thank you very much, Anna. It's a pleasure to introduce Anegen Blokpoel, Ajay Ramashamadran, Belen Rayo, and Noor van Noorderen. Let's gonna make a little introduction. Anegen, please, could you?
Happy to do so. Thank you, Taryn, and I'm really happy to be here in Barcelona, where I actually invested in 2 female founders, so that as a start. I'm a business angel from the Netherlands, I'm also a strategy advisor, but I would say 80% of my time now goes into helping my startups to progress on their journey, help with fundraising. I've invested in about 22 startups directly, and I would say 20-25 indirectly through business angel clubs. So I leave it at that.
Thank you very much. Noor, she's joining us online, and maybe we're going to jump them to Berlin.
Okay, thank you very much, Taryn. Well, I'm currently leading the Open Innovation Initiative in Mango. It's called Mango Startup Studio. It was launched on the past April. And the aim of the accelerator is to accelerate startups that might improve all the supply chain in fashion, okay? Not only fashion brands, but the whole supply chain. In order to help entrepreneurs to understand what we are looking for, we launched 5 different challenges on commerce, online, offline, customer management, design and product, sustainability, which is one of our priorities, operations, and people. And any startup that work on any of those challenges, we are happy to listen to them and to see if it fits with the acceleration program. So yes, thank you.
You were also in a corporate venture capital before?
No, my background is on product management, both in telco industry and of course in Mango, when I was before.
Thank you very much.
Maybe, Taryn, I will add a little bit of my CV, because I went really fast.
Okay.
My background is actually, I come from merchant banking, structured finance. Then I was director investor relations and corporate communications of 2 very large Dutch-listed companies, one listed on the stock exchange also in New York, and the other one on the Belgium Stock Exchange. So I have 10 years of a very heavy corporate banking background, and then 20 years as an entrepreneur helping startups, which was first SME companies. And then 7 years ago, I decided I let go of the SMEs, and I'm now focusing on the startups, the tech startups, because I think that's where the real innovation and impact is coming from. So then you have a little bit of my background as well.
Thank you. Now, Noor is here. Thank you very much for joining us, and we are very happy to hear your nice story until you arrive as a business angel.
Cool. Yes, another Dutch woman, well, not really on stage, but with you today on this panel. So I'm dialing in actually from Amsterdam. My background is really from the HR side, and I worked first at corporates and then made a shift to SkillOps. So I was the VP of People at SoundCloud, a music streaming company, and later the Chief People Officer at N26. And from there, I really rolled into business angel investment. And I actually started 2 years ago a company together with my business partner, who also comes from the HR side in SkillOps. And what we do is we now consult later stage SkillOps, but the money that we make, we reinvest in the startup scene, and we really focus on underrepresented founders, preferably female founders, and always in HR tech and fintech.
Thank you very much. Now, Ajay, you're coming from Silicon Valley.
Yeah, a little bit of a commute. Yeah, well, thank you, first of all, for having me here. Really appreciate that. I'm honored to be on this panel of distinguished investors and founders and advisors. My background, I am from the Silicon Valley. I started my first company back in the 90s and was lucky enough to see some success with that venture. I have a background in bioengineering, economics, and mass media and communications. I ended up starting a .com that did very well, and over the years had a hand in starting, co-founding over 11 startups. A few of them went public and were listed companies in the US on the NASDAQ, and many of them exited through acquisition. And today, one of them is actually still running. and in 2017, I ended up joining the venture capital side of the business, focusing on investing in and backing new founders and entrepreneurs. And prior to that, had been an angel investor backing companies in a similar capacity. Today, I'm a managing partner at a fund called If Magic Ventures. We are a deep tech seed stage fund. We're investing in and backing highly transformative, disruptive companies that are enabling a paradigm shift for humanity. The idea is, can we create deep technologies that are profoundly impacting and shaping the future of humanity for the positive? And as such, we've taken I think, a fairly diverse perspective on backing and investing in founders of all backgrounds. So 60% of our portfolio companies have a female co-founder. You're probably aware that the current statistics in the Silicon Valley are pretty terrible. 2% of all of the venture capital dollars in the Valley go to backing female founders today. And we are at least 30 times better than that metric. But I think that's something that all of venture capital, all of Silicon Valley can do a much better job on, being more inclusive and generating a lot more diversity in the entrepreneurs that they're backing. The good news is the strategy actually works. So as a fund, we're on track to generate a 12 to 15x return on our investment, which is well above the statistical average or norm for the Silicon Valley. And that means that we're in an excellent position to really prove the point that investing in diversity, investing in female founders actually generates alpha returns. And there's a strong case to be made there, and hopefully we get to lead a little bit by example, showing the rest of the Valley how it can be done.
Thank you very much. Just to make a little bit, Anahian, what does it mean to be a business angel?
Oh, what does it mean to be a business angel? Well, it means that you are a person dealing with other people, right? Because when the company is that small, you can't really talk yet about a company or an organization. You're talking about people that have a dream, that believe in something, and they think they will make it. They're also at their most vulnerable state, because it's when you're small, you need to ask for a lot of help. You can get a whole lot of no's, so you need to be able to deal with that. So I think being a business angel is not only looking at the company and the potential to scale up and, of course, an exit, because we all want to, at some point, exit. But it's also, how is the team? What are they like? And where can you contribute? Because it's in that beginning state, as a business angel, you are very often as well helping them through the most difficult first 2 phases of the existence of the company. And I try to help as well in developing their leadership skills. Because I think you can be a great founder at the beginning, but are you still a very great founder in Series B when you think that you might be the one that did all the success? So it's part of the leadership as well, I think, to help them with that.
Thank you very much. Noor, you're also a business angel. Would you add any more?
Yeah, I think that the nice part about being an angel versus a VC is, so it's a little bit of a different angle than Annegien, so maybe it adds a little bit to it, is as a VC, you partner with the business, but it's much more of a business relationship. And what I found as an angel is you're very often early on the journey. And it means that the organization also goes to way more loops, right? Like in the beginning, it's like, are they going to make it or break it? And it's very often underestimated how difficult it is for the founder. And I think as an angel, you're close and you're there to help, but you also have much more of the cheerleader role to really help the founders being resilient in the difficult times in the beginning. Because the relationship is just more personal than, for example, the relationship with a VC.
Yeah. And jumping to the corporate venture capital.
Yes, we as corporate venture capital, we work on establishing win-win relationships with the startups. What we offer is experience, resources, deep knowledge on our field, an international footprint, so things that the startups value and are eager to work. And what we are looking for in startups is innovation, technology, the talent that we find in entrepreneurs. So in a way, it's I work on establishing win-win relationships with the both parties.
Mm-hmm. You're integrating the startup into your company in order to...
We co-create with them a proof of concept, and we see, because well, it's innovation, it's a new technology, and we test it with them. And it might be, well, it might end in being a partner for Mango, but it's a next step on the acceleration.
And in this next step comes Ajay with the venture capital. What does it mean?
Yeah, so we tend to invest anywhere from 6 to 12 months after the business angels or the accelerators, incubators, what have you, will have invested and or supported a company. So it means that we're often working very closely with angels and incubators, accelerators, corporate partners that may have seeded a company at that pre-seed stage. We'll typically come in and be the first institutional venture capital money in the round in a financing for a company. And what that means is we're adding typically ourselves as board members of the company, providing some professional governance to the business, also a lot of coaching and support for the founders so that they can succeed in the startup journey, because it's quite an arduous and really a very prolonged journey. I think a lot of people fail to appreciate or realize how long of a journey it is. So when we're writing that check, the team that we're backing and investing in really matters, because, and also our own relationship with the founders matter, because it's going to be a long journey, anywhere up to 10, even 12 years from the time we're writing our check. And ideally faster than that, but that's not always the case. So the founders have to be prepared, for having the resilience to go through that journey, because you could imagine at different points in times there are going to be peaks and valleys. And it's also very important to remember that after every peak, there's usually a valley. And so it's quite a trick to survive that kind of journey when you're traversing so many, hopefully ever-increasing summits, so that along the journey you ultimately end at a very good destination. So we're looking for founders with that resilience, that ability to never quit, to put everything they've got into the business, and where they are applying a lot of not only their creativity, their passion, but are able to attract, like a magnet, attract a lot of capital, talent, partners, customers, to the journey of their business. And so we look for those kinds of characteristics in our founders in particular. And of course, we have to be able to pair that with a team that's building highly disruptive technology for the purpose, again, for benefiting humanity at large. We call it deep tech for good. So applying this technology to create value for the rest of humanity.
And maybe to add on that, because it's deep tech, it takes more time. I invested in 2 deep tech companies. I will not do that again, because it takes far too much time. As a business angel, you would like to get your money back 5 years from now, because I want to be able to reinvest that. And if it's sticking I also normally do 3 rounds. So I'm involved from the most early phase, and then I do 2 follow-up rounds. Then I try to get the nice VCs in, so they take on my task thereafter.
Sure.
Because as a business angel, you also need to protect yourself against the sharks that later on will come up.
Yeah, and I fully appreciate that. I was a longtime angel investor before being a VC. And as an angel, it's very difficult often to protect the investment that you wrote in those early days. And certainly as the company gains value, angels tend to get kind of diluted. from the ownership stake that they once enjoyed at the early days. And certainly that's also true for early stage venture capital. So funds like ours that are investing typically late seed or early A, we also face a lot of that pressure in terms of the dilutive effects of follow-on rounds. And it's often difficult for us to maintain our ownership in those follow-on rounds because ideally, if we've done our jobs right and selected the right deep tech companies, when they raise the next rounds, they grow in value in pretty dramatic ways. So we're often seeing companies that from the time we invest, the value of the company in the next round of financing is often 20 to 30 times higher than the valuation where we invested. Mm-hmm. And that is also the nature of deep tech, is that it might take a little bit longer to see that value. The value should be asymmetric to the rest of the venture capital market because the companies are doing something so profound that if they succeed, then the impact of their innovation is a much greater or more dynamic impact, so the valuations tend to be a lot higher in those follow-on rounds, which makes it very expensive for us to keep following up and investing pro rata in those rounds.
That's true. Yeah. And Nora, what will be your investment criteria in order to, do you have any verticals or you're agnostic?
Yeah. No, we really focus on HR tech and fintech. Fintech is really the industry that we come from, and HR our functional expertise. And what for us is really important is like we like investing in underrepresented founders. That everyone has a different definition for it, but for us it's people who have less easy access to capital, where our network and insights are making a meaningful difference. And secondly, what's important for us is that the problem that they're trying to solve, that we're very passionate about that, and that the way how they think about the solution is an interesting way of thinking. So it doesn't mean that that solution is the final solution, because especially in pre-seed and seed, there will be many pivots and likely very different. They will end with something different than they started. But if we like the way how they're approaching it and thinking it, and that it's new, we are investing in it. So if it's an obvious thing, so we see a lot in recruitment tech, for example, a lot of similar solutions that you can gain quite easy money with because there's just a high demand. For us, it's less interesting. We really want to have that click with like, okay, cool, that's something new and exciting and really innovating in the space.
Yeah, then let's gonna jump. Are you only searching for fashion tech startups, or do you also?
We are looking for any startups that might add value on our supply chain. Okay, the 5 challenges that I shared previously: sustainability, operations, people. And the criteria that we use in order to know if it fits our acceleration program is first, making sure that it adds the value that we are looking for in terms of innovation and strategic priorities. Mm-hmm. Also the team, what I was mentioning before, the experience, the education that they have. Second is making sure that our value proposition is something that they value, and the co-creation of the proof of concept, the ticket that we offer the startups. We are launching this program with IES Business School and making sure the mentoring and the training that we are including in the value proposition is something that they value. So the whole experience is something that the startups is going to be benefited. And the third one is how the startup fits with our values and mission, the long-term vision that they have. So this is the 3 criteria that we use for all the startups that apply to our program.
Mm-hmm. And how many startups did you have in your portfolio since you started?
I started as a business angel 12 years ago. But then my main business was still strategy advice, and I had employees, and we were a strategy company. And I thought, yeah, there is a potential conflict of interest between being a strategy advisor and being a shareholder. So I just invested in one company because they needed me to help them write the information memorandum to obtain money. deep tech company. And then I thought, yeah, if I don't help them, they go bankrupt. They have patents, they have FDA approval in the US, and they will just disappear. What a waste. So I said, okay, I'll lower my rate and I get a small percentage. But then I also decided, first one out, and then I can do a new one. Now, it's difficult to say no, so I got another client that way, or another startup, you could say that way. And then since 2016, I first started with the Business Angel Club, and that was my big switch, because I invested 30,000 at once, which is a big amount for me, because I also first make my money and then I invest. And then actually that gave me the basis to invest in 8 companies at the same time. I am a financial person, so I do believe in building up a diversified portfolio. But I also want to give special attention to the ones that I directly invest in. So that's how I've been building over the last 6 years a portfolio of 20 companies that I really know the founder really well and I really help. With fundraising, I also charge for that. So if I do fundraising, I charge like any corporate finance person would do that. I'm on advisory boards of them. And then I have my diversified passive portfolio, which I would say is now around 20, 25 companies. And that means I have a diversified portfolio of 45. Around 70% impact driven. Mainly the ones that I invested in directly, because the business angel clubs are 95% men, 5% women. So I'm normally one of few. And they are far less impact driven and more, well, is it SaaS? Can we easily exit? So it's a different focus. So, but that makes it a nice diversified portfolio, right? So does that answer the question?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Noor, you are coming from TomTom first, then N26, and now you are a business angel. What makes you change your mind and jump into the investment side?
Yeah, because I was a chief people officer and working also a lot with VC. Like I think the statistics that were mentioned before from Silicon Valley also apply from Europe, even though we're in a different maturity stage. And from the HR side, I've always focused on the position of women in work, and I want to continue to do something like that, but from a different angle. And with our business angel tickets, we are not going to increase the amount of capital that is going to underrepresented founders, but at least with our network and being able to at least give them a kickstart and give them access to other business angels, either through networks, but also into our VC network. We hope that we can also, in the old ecosystem, diversify the deal flow that's going around there. We also have those relationships with VCs. So that's one big driver. And the second thing that I saw, and it comes a little bit back to what was said in the beginning, the maturity of an ecosystem really is necessary to have all of the components that you now have in the panel, also in the ecosystem, right? So you need accelerators that have a focus on diversity in founder set, business angels, VCs. And a lot of those ecosystems, Silicon Valley definitely started from that, is having the first company big exits, right? So you see that also in the Nordics, for example, with the Spotify exit, people who benefit from that exit become business angels. And if those people profiting from the exit are more diverse people, you have more diverse business angels, and they will invest in more diverse founders. So it's important in the whole ecosystem to help. So we help companies set up equity programs that are more focused on distributing the employee pool equally, not only to men who are asking for it, and we are reinvesting it in the scene.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Ajay, which is the most successful project that you invest besides your startup?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I have so many successful, happy investments over the course of my career. It's hard to choose. You know, I did 11 of my own startups, 7 of them exited by acquisition, and 2 of them through IPO. So it's difficult to pick. But I would say out of my current portfolio, we have some pretty exciting and fast-growing companies like Zynar. Zynar, they have cracked the code on synchronizing time down to the nanosecond scale, which it's a deep tech company that impacts everything from logistics to space to telecom and 5G and a number of other markets. And in each of these areas, their impact can be measured in the tens of billions of dollars or even hundreds of billions of dollars. So it's a pretty interesting company to track, and they grew about 30 times in value between our investment as the lead investor at the seed stage and their Series A, which is just completing. So it's companies like that that really excite us because they tend to outperform the rest of the market, grow in dramatic ways. We have a portfolio company called Hypersonics, which has a female co-founder. And they're also a very exciting company. They've built an AI, machine learning, and NLP platform so you can have conversations with your data. It's kind of like carrying around a CFO, a business analyst, a data scientist in your pocket, literally like on your phone. And you talk to your data, you ask it questions, it answers back, and you have a dialogue with it, and you get to the insights and answers that unlock enterprise value. And so it's a very exciting kind of company to track again, and also a company that over the course of between the seed to the Series B rounds, which were led by Intel Capital and B Capital in the Series A and B rounds respectively, that company has also grown by value fairly dramatically, about 25 times in value. So those are the kinds of companies that always excite us, the ones that are doing something so materially different than the rest of the landscape that they tend to create impact and change the world for the better. But yeah, as a fund, we're on the hunt for those kinds of businesses. So we're investing in everything from AI, machine learning, to quantum, synthetic biology, ambient AI. We're looking at robotics, specifically avatar robotics. We have an amazing company in that area called Beyond Imagination. And Beyond has built the world's first avatar robot. This is a humanoid robot that extends human capacity in previously unimaginable ways. Not only can this robot, fry up or make an omelet, it can pour drinks, which is a really hard problem to solve. So to make a cocktail or mix drinks, that's very difficult because liquids, computer vision, being able to, actually control, a robot with that level of fidelity in such a kind of ad hoc task, right, where it's not pre-planned. Very difficult, and this company is solving those kinds of very complex robotic challenges. And why does it matter? Because it enables a paraplegic to serve coffee and take orders in a robo-cafe in Tokyo, or for an astronaut to build the lunar or Mars habitat without ever actually landing on the Mars or on the moon. And where the robot can be controlled or driven by the astronaut on planet Earth, right? Which is also in outer space, which everyone tends to forget. So Beyond Imagination has built some remarkable technology, and really at a fraction of the cost of the Tesla bot. So you've heard probably a lot about Elon Musk and his $300 million of invested capital in the Tesla bot. That's a lot of money for a robot that does very little. And Beyond's done that with seed financing and has created a robot that is easily 100 times better and more interesting than the Tesla bot. So it really speaks to kind of, finding the founders that have remarkable insight, vision, and the ability to innovate and change the world for the better. And just to give you a profile on that founder, because I think it's interesting to think about when we think about talent, to really think about kind of the talent behind these companies, right? This founder's life journey was truly a life journey. He was born with a disability that made it difficult for him to walk. he had to correct that disability as a child by inventing his own kind of exoskeleton that could adjust the way that he was walking, the way that he was growing, to basically take his feet, which were kind of pointed in the wrong direction, and turn them outward. And then went on to do a bunch of remarkable things. Got a double PhD at the same time, so contemporaneously did 2 PhDs, the only person in the US to have accomplished that. And then went on to do all kinds of other remarkable things. Aside from writing for Star Trek as a writer, he also went on to co-create the first X Prize, the Space X Prize, which is the prize that's often credited with inspiring and creating the modern private space race. And then more recently created the Avatar X Prize, which is a prize that's sponsored by ANA, the Japanese airline, to create a future of avatar robots, where we have robots that can extend human capacity, can be cobots that live alongside humans and augment all of the things that we can do and make our lives actually a lot better from...
So Ajay, this is nice. So not robots, but cobots.
Cobots as
coexisting with the cobots. That sounds not much nicer than robots.
Yeah, this is really not about replacing humanity. This is about extending our capacity and making our lives so much better. So there's a lot of kind of innovation happening in the world, but finding the founder that where you can see this longitudinal journey over a long period of time and all of the accomplishments that are leading to this remarkable set of innovations that they're bringing to the world. And when you look at someone like Dr. Harry Kloor, say, wow, this person was put here on planet Earth to do this very thing. This is the summation of this individual's journey that's led them to this exact point in their lives to create this remarkable thing. So
it makes me a little bit jealous. When I listen to this, I'm thinking, if we would have this in Europe, right? Because you are really lucky that you are in a part of the world where people can really dream, and when there is plenty of money to help that dream come about. Because we are still, I think, in Europe, still very looking at what is the world of today? Is there a practical problem? Do you, like with you guys now, if I look at my portfolio, the best performing one, I invested in her as a founder. I also invested because she was asking 3 times less as a valuation than male founders would have asked. So as an investor, that gives you already your first multiple of 3 times, right? And I also invested because I really thought she's going to show and become a really great showcase. Now, she raised $9 million in the US after 3.5 years, so I'm really, really proud of her. And as an investor, I'm really, really happy. But what she's doing is e-commerce, helping people to buy more. Now, as a person, I like people to buy less, right? I'm an impact catalyst type of an investor. So, but at the same time, I do want her to succeed and to be a really great showcase for other female entrepreneurs. Yes, you can do it, and in 3.5 years' time, you can raise $9 million in the US on a valuation of $30 million. At the same time, I would love to have your environment here as well, because we also have entrepreneurs with these great dreams. We just don't have the VCs to back them up. And because there's no fees to back them up, I'm not going to invest as an angel, because who will take on, after my 2nd or 3rd finance round, who do I find that can then take them onwards?
Right.
So I think that's one of the things that we need to solve in Europe, so that we can also have the dream startups.
Talking about dream of startups, would you share any impactful experience from any of those startups that you have already? I know that you started last year.
Yes, exactly. We are pretty new in the ecosystem, so we have already selected 3 to start the program. I hope to be able to communicate them very shortly, but we are just selected them. Yes, we still don't have the experience of having accelerated ones. We hope to be able to accelerate between 6 to 12 startups per year. Okay, that's the goal that we have defined for ourselves.
Wow. And Nora, you also started in a short time as well.
Yeah, 2 years only. I'm a little bit less skeptical, though, I have to say, about Europe than what Annegien was saying, right? Like, I think a lot needs to happen, like what I was mentioning before, like the ecosystem. We need more exits, we need more benefits from equity programs to invest in all the cycles. When looking at innovations and how the tech VC market is evolving in Europe, US VCs entering the European market, I'm actually quite positive. 2 investments that I'm really excited about are more in the benefit space. One is fertility benefits and one is mental health. But now, basically, when we're talking about innovations, I want to actually highlight a different one, and that is VE in Germany. And they are basically tackling, these are all European guys. They worked in Silicon Valley, they worked on autonomous driving. They got frustrated about the time spent because basically, I think everyone knows, technology is already there, but human psychology is not there to work with self-driving cars. And what they are now launching, and they actually already start driving in Hamburg, is tele-drivers, where you have drivers on a distance who are driving the car. So it's solving the problem of not having the ownership of the driver, but it is actually on a distance. So you don't need to be the driver of the car yourself. So it's a great entry point to help from a psychology perspective, the society to get used to cars without drivers. And it's also creating a different dynamic how we think about transportation and mobility. So I see a bit more, and they're doing really well. Great VCs are in there, both US and European base. So I see some cool innovations happening. Just wanted to add that. Bit of positive hope.
That's great. What will make you the final decision that will give you the choice to invest in one startup versus another one? In case that you have the final choice and you can just choose one, what will be your final decision?
Yeah. So this happens quite a lot because then we see an interesting development or innovation or trend coming in HR tech. So a good example is real life reward compensation. That's very common in the US because you need more data points, less data points than in Europe, but in Europe you didn't have that yet. And the US players coming to Europe didn't make it, so you see a lot of players coming up in Europe. Then we really assess the category and we team up with European VCs that are also analyzing that category. The final decision is then A, based on the founders, that we like them, B, that we can really have a material impact, but also the VC partnerships that we have with the VCs that are already investing. So Annegien was mentioning that before, and I can double down on that. Like having a good relationship in the VC ecosystem as a business angel really helps. And it does sometimes also influences the final decision.
Thank you very much. Talking about networking, no?
Yeah.
Okay, to wrap, I just want to ask you each one, what can we do in order to bring more female investors into the field? Ajay.
Yeah, that's something that I think about often. As a father of 2 daughters, I really feel like it's an opportunity for me as a VC to demonstrate how things can change and to actually act on that change and to make it happen. So it's why so much of our fund has backed female co-founders. 30% of our portfolio have a female CEO, and we have 60% of our portfolio with minority co-founders as well. So we tend to kind of lean in on and believe that diversity can generate alpha returns, and certainly that's something that our fund is proving. But also that by doing that, those founders then ultimately end up feeding back into the ecosystem and becoming investors themselves in much the same way that I did over my career, starting out with a tech company in the dot-com era and then writing checks after I had generated kind of some value there. And so I think that's really how these ecosystems tend to form and build, is that a number of business angels will come in or incubators and accelerators will come in, support founders in the early days, and once those founders have leveled up, become successful, it starts building an ecosystem in the region where there are more investors able to create and start new companies. And if we have more female, not only founders, but also entrepreneurs and just top talent in these companies that succeed, then I think that builds the ecosystem. Now that takes a long time. That's a pretty slow generational kind of shift, but I think that's a big part of what needs to and will happen. I think outside of that, we just need more allyship and more people that are willing to say, hey, as a talented woman, there's nothing holding you back from being an investor and getting involved in advising companies, supporting companies. And I think there's a real opportunity again for VCs to lead that way by inviting more women into that conversation. So it will happen, and I think there are some positive signs that we're moving at least in a better direction than we were in the past. But it's going to take time. I wish there was a magic wand or a quick fix to the problem.
Especially because 52% of the richest people in the US is women. Hello. Annegien, what tips will you give, or what would you say?
And this is a strategy advisor talking. There is, I would say, two ways of looking at it. One is top-down, and the other one is bottom-up. Now, top-down, you go for the private banking market. You go for the women that actually have money, that normally come from family businesses. So they are used to invest money, and they can do big tickets. But there's not so many of them. You can also do bottom-up. And then you look at all the women, which is 50% of the population. So it's 4 billion people in the world. And you can also invest €1,000 or €2,000. If you do every year 3 investments of €1,000, after 3 years, you've built up a portfolio of 10 companies. After 5 years, you've built up a nice diversified portfolio. Any woman can achieve that. So, now, to make that very practical, I see you nodding. Are you going to invest as a female angel? That's it. So that's how it starts. You plant a seed, and in a year or in 2 years, she will be a female investor.
Thank you very much, Annegien.
I am sorry we run out of time. Thank you very much for your sharing your knowledge and for giving us this hope to all women. Okay?
I just want to say that Ajay, Noor, and Annegien, they're part of Impulse for Women, giving their time and their knowledge to support female future entrepreneurs. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. And thanks to you all for being here, for listening to us in this B channel. And we wait you here at 5 with B Startup.
Fabricamos talento, fabricamos innovación y, cómo no, sostenibilidad. Fabricamos una nueva economía y un mundo nuevo, en 3D, por supuesto. Pero sobre todo, fabricamos futuro. Y es que fabricamos empleo para más de 137.000 trabajadores. Fabricamos oportunidades globales de negocio en un espacio de más de 10 millones de metros cuadrados. Y fabricamos servicios de vanguardia y ventajas competitivas para más de 175 empresas. Consorcio de la Zona Franca. Fabricamos oportunidades para tu futuro.
Welcome to D Factory, the factory that develops talent, technology, innovation, and of course in the heart of Barcelona. After all, D Factory is consolidating Barcelona as a European capital of development for Industry 4.0, for digitalization, for transformation, creating 1,500 direct jobs and 5,000 indirect jobs in the city, close to the metro, the harbour and the airport. And promoted by the Consorci de la Zona Franca de Barcelona.